Do you remember
The
the
21st
21st night?
night of September. Yes, that is when we're recording this delicious slop for you guys. It
We
is,
actually just finished the recording not too long ago
yes.
for the last episode of Bear With Us. Hopefully, this time I won't forget to upload the second episode like a week later. I think maybe it was 2 weeks later,
Sometimes you
which
can
was
be.
funny because
There's a powerful
uh,
enemy ahead. Think
I
twice
was just
before
gonna say
engaging.
because the corporate overload video was very really funny.
Yeah, that was
But
a.
anywho,
Prepare it's dangerous. Stay on
go
cover.
ahead. I keep on going too fast for
You're
you.
good though. That was a fun video though. But I'm Juggerbear, and we're gonna try and answer more of life's great mysteries again.
But before that, welcome to Bear With Us. We haven't said it yet. That's Jugger Bear, and I am Bear's fan. If you can't tell why it's named Bear With Us,
You'll guess you'll never know.
yeah, that's true. Anywho, so we were just talking a bit, and then like it was just kind of like, oh wow, we normally do these in twos, so like, let's find out something, and then something just kind of clicked. Um, uh, and we got to the topic of religion, and we decided to go with more
Feeling
not
like
like our
fodder.
thoughts, but more of our
This will do the trick.
not processes, just
That's
like
a strong
our
one.
general
Hit them where it hurts.
feelings. And like for the most part, the two of us here, well, we have the trad cath here, so I mean
Hello.
obviously he's not getting any rights, but
I'll
for
pick
me,
you
I'm
up to
just more
pieces.
traditional Christian, and like, I mean, not traditional Christian, like traditional like God believer. I don't really know
In
what
this
it's called.
situation,
I own the Bible. I actually have one right next to me.
Yes,
Um,
I am the Harrison Butker. We're making the women make sandwiches. That was a
yeah,
dumb
I
joke.
actually it actually is kind of relevant that my Bible is right next because it's the I think it's one of the last gifts I've ever gotten from my grandfather before he passed away.
the enemy's
Which
weak to ice. Let's freeze them solid.
on it in here he has a note saying to Tegan, the gift of eternal life, Grandpa Fred, Grandma Debbie. I've I'm going to be completely honest. I myself have just
The enemy's
I've been a firm believer that there is a God and that it exists, but I think for the most part I have a hard time fully applying my faith into real life. And I feel like that's just more of a struggle to me
you've been knocked
that I
down.
just need to get better on working on it.
I was careless.
But
You're back in the What's fight. The plan here? Now it's
yeah,
our
this
turn.
is one of the
Pentacles.
last things he ever sent to me. It's the King James version,
This is our
red letter.
Yes, the only
So
true Bible, depending on who you ask.
I know that my grandfather had a
I have to
favorite
do this.
verse, and I would normally I would probably say it, but it's not in here. So I mean I would have to ask my mom what his favorite verse was. But
We've already
back
skipped this
to
one.
back to not being all sappy and everything. Religion. It's it's a fickle thing. Not saying fickle as in it's a bad thing, but it is such you have to have a lot of faith in it, and you get out what you put in. Anywho, let's hear the trad cat talk about churches,
Yes, but before
because
we
I
get
know
to
he's
my
been wanting
church's
to.
rant, though, which, yeah, I'm gonna start sounding like my friend Anthony in his show, Avoiding Babylon, which that is for a very niche audience. If you want to check it out, don't be offended when he says something, because I warned you, but anyway, I have a very interesting story of religion where I started out as, like, little kid getting sent to Sunday school. That's, it's Sunday school. As a kid, you're like, wow, this is boring, but you still believe it. And then once you stop going to Sunday school, it's like, okay, I don't believe this. And then I initially got convinced of God when I was listening to a podcast, like any good, a Zoomer boy does, and I was introduced into the argument of the unmoved mover, which, in layman's terms, is because everything has a cause. Eventually, you have to go back to something that causes the causes. And so, an example is to be like, what causes the Big Bang? Nobody knows, obviously. So one solution to that would be there has to be something outside of time and space that gets the ball rolling. Then after I got convinced of God, it's like, okay, what church do I go to? And it was a little easy for me to pick the Catholic Church because that was the one I was kind of brought up in, though. Like, I'm not saying I was, like, steeped in it, like, Harrison Butker's kids, every Sunday you're trotting out to church. But, like, I still went to church every now and then with my dad or my grandpa. And as a kid, you think it's boring just because, you want to play lightsabers with your brother. And,
Right.
yeah. But I went back during a Christmas mass, and the church I went to is like a very fairly basic Catholic church, though. It's not like like the trad Latin mass that the cool kids on the internet go to. Where this one had the guitars, had the band, but I'm just looking up at the crucifix. I'm thinking, wow, this is something. But I'm not fully convinced to go back to church yet. That wouldn't come till about half a year later when I couldn't just. Eventually, it's all those little things that click in my mind until I'm eventually at the point where it's like, okay, fine, you win, God, I'll go to church. And that's where I am now. Where oh, I'm sorry, I'm sick.
You
And
could
I've
say
made
you're
a
sicko. Ha ha ha
aha,
ha.
yes, sick title plug.
But I have an interest. I have a weird relationship with churches. In my opinion, I think churches are perfect forms of art. I feel like they are great places to go and um, go and talk to God and speak to God and give Him praise and give Him
Or
glory.
if you're a Catholic or Orthodox, eat God.
In this situation.
Yeah, but the issue I have with it is more of the fact that any place can be holy if you make it. You can talk with God at any point in your life. You don't have to necessarily do it, you know, at a church. You can do it while you're on the toilet. You can do it while you're doing dishes. You can do it while you're walking. And that's kind of how I feel. If you go to church, that is 100%, 110% fair. I think people who go to church are cool. But I don't think you necessarily need to go to a church to be able to talk with God. Because He'll answer your prayers anywhere. Now, granted, I think always having a cross nearby is something relative. But, I will say this. If you ever want to have a conversation with God, He is the one person that is always listening.
What's the plan here? Do it!
But I do have a slight rebuttal to that, though. So where I come from, obviously, you have to go to church every week, and then sometimes they even got to go a couple weekdays a year due to specific holidays. Where my thought process is, you can obviously speak to God anywhere, just because, well, He is everywhere.
I think I can
But
use it now.
why limit yourself to just being in a place where everything else is when you can go to His house, kind of thing, where like you can hang out with your friend or call your friend, but why not go to His house and let's say like have dinner with Him? That's kind of my thought process with church.
What next?
Oh, and that's a completely fair rebuttal. I think that is more than fair. I just think in that case, there's nothing wrong with going to His house and having Him come to your house. Because God is loving. God doesn't really care At least in my eyes, God doesn't really care whether you're going to his house or going to your house because he's always there to help you. Plus, I kind of have a weird relation where some people are like deathly sick, and I mean like deathly sick, and they're like, "Oh, but I need to go to church." Like,
Let's
y-
do the same thing for
sir,
exercise.
sir, you. I love your devotion to him,
Great.
but you need this IV more than you need to go in. You can talk with him at any place and any time. But granted, it's everyone's life. They should be allowed to think
Stairs.
wherever they can talk with God wherever they want.
We gotta keep moving.
And for the most part, I've kind of had, and I talked with you a little bit outside of this, but I've always had a awkward time with God,
Do it.
mostly just
What's the
because
plan here?
I've kind of
Hit them
been
where it hurts.
just
Persona!
overall like growing up, I didn't really understand the concept of it.
In
Getting
this
older, I
situation.
now do understand it, and I do firmly believe there is a God.
Yo!
I probably need to work on my relationship with him a bit better
Next
Come on,
because
time.
I
let's do
feel
this. Yo!
I have prayed a lot more than I usually have, and it's helped me a bit
We're not gonna go
just
easy.
because I've had some really bad anxiety recently, so he's really helped me out there. It's just I haven't I haven't been a really good neighbor,
And that's how
and
it's
I want to
done.
fix that. I've tried to be a bit more
Let's do the same
helpful and
thing
try
for our
to
next friend.
uh, do good things as if God would do, kind of.
Prepare yourselves. Be careful.
I'll hit them where it hurts.
How about trip?
Another thing I want to bring up with that is how in the epistles from St. Paul, he does tell us to pray without ceasing. Now, obviously, he understands where when you're
Yes.
sleeping, obviously, you can't pray, obviously, but like how you'd call your dad and say, "Hey, I miss you." Well, God's kind of like a dad. Well, he is in the sense he has a son, but
Right.
What next?
anyway, it's not to
Looks
get
like
too far
fire
into
will
the
work great.
weeds. A little bit of that, where pray when you can, when as much as you can. From my, that's how I would view it. Like,
And that's totally reasonable. I think that's a great way to look at it.
Nicely done,
Knock
Takeba.
one down.
I'm just
Looks like
I'm
fire
one
will
of
work
those
great.
people that
Pull the
like
trigger.
Leader, go for it.
I need to improve my relationship with
What to
him.
do?
That's simply the only thing that I need to do to kind of get where I'm at right now because I feel like I've asked a lot from him and I have received a lot, but then like I don't really know how to like thank him. I do obviously send a couple prayers of his way thanking him and everything. But it's just it's weird because as someone that's had a bit of an odd time trying to show my thanks, I don't know if that's enough.
Here we go.
But I also know that he knows inside that like that I do care. And it's such a weird relation where I feel like I get myself stuck into a paradox where like I think I'm doing too much, but then I don't think I'm doing too much, and it's just ugh.
another kind of thing that's sort of, kind of bit of a extra thing to add on to that, though, where,
Oh, there's a
and you can
treasure
never do
chest.
too much for God, obviously, but, and there's some people that'll dedicate their whole lives, like, you have Catholic priests that, instead of going on to get married, they'll go and dedicate their whole lives to service to the church. It's not just priests, like, you'll have lay brothers, nuns,
Pay attention next time. Enemy
that'll,
where it
again,
hurts.
dedicate their whole lives
Let's go.
to
Take
their
that.
service to God.
One last touch. The enemy
Yeah,
like fish in a
I
barrel.
do get what you mean. just he is all powerful and he is there. I
I'll go with Fortuna.
I just I wonder if like my views though are
You hit
really
a weakness.
accurate. Like if I am right to feel that the way that I do feel. Just cuz should I probably go to church more?
Good.
Yeah. Granted, I'm
What to do?
severely ADHD autistic brain, so like sitting through a sermon is like wanting me is like a can opener to my ears, wanting to just get over with. But like I don't know. I do want to lead into this though. I do feel like there is a this is just from both sides, but there is a weird amount of like hate just spewing from both very heavy Bible Christians and very anti-Bible people. Even though like ultimately
The enemy's nearby.
the point of the Bible, whether you think it's real or not, is
Three enemies
it's
detected.
a story of a man who gave up his life in order
Hit them
to
where it hurts.
sacrifice himself for others. And I don't think it's that far off to at least hear his teachings and hear his wording. Like, just, it's interesting.
Two enemies down. We're on a roll.
I will say this though, just because I don't want to sound very like sacrilegious. I do feel like though the Bible has been changed a lot throughout the years, mostly just because a lot of corruption within, the Catholics, which
Dun dun
I'm
dun.
not I'm not here to I don't want to start no beef with no Catholics,
Hey.
but like I'm just saying there are some stuff where I'm like I don't know, man. I don't think God really cares. I don't think God is a huge has a huge thing against gay people. I think that has a little bit to do with some past stuff and people not being okay with. My point is, my father is also a huge he's not a huge Bible reader, but he is into a lot of my stepfather. I mean, he's into a lot of stuff like that. And from what he's told me, he's like, "Oh yeah, the Bible has been completely changed from where it was 2,000 years, and that the Bible we have now is nowhere close to the true Bible." Which, like,
I won't miss my chance.
I'm inclined to believe some of that. I'm also not inclined to believe some. But do I definitely think there are people out there who have changed the Bible to fit views that fit them, and they just so happen to be popular throughout time? I believe that.
I'm still setting up. It'll take a little more
This
time.
will do the trick.
So, interesting fact about the whole Bible is it's actually like the actual text of the Bible has been fairly well preserved. Like with ancient manuscripts, like when you have the Dead Sea Scrolls or certain manuscripts of the Sepulgate. I don't know Greek, but the original Greek Old Testament that was used back during biblical times. It was all fairly well preserved in the Latin Vulgate during I want to say the year 600 or so, when I want to say it was one of the Leo popes, which that doesn't narrow it down because there's been like 13 Leos. They're one of the early ones where he sent one of his people to go, hey, compile the New Testament, Old Testament, and and translate it from Greek, Aramaic, whatnot into Latin. And he went and did that, and that was the main Bible that the church used till like 1960, at least from the Catholic Church. I'm not sure which specific Bible the Eastern Church was using, and then obviously the Protestants made their own translations, and eventually you get to the mess now where you have people trying to take those old manuscripts that are now relatively recently discovered in the past 200 years, and make their own translations, and it gets a little messy with that. And to kind of put
Yeah.
my trad Catholic perspective on the whole gays thing, which this is not to hurt anyone's feelings, Because obviously we have our perspective of like with marriage and whatnot, but it's not out of like any sense of hatred. It's just the way we view sex, where the main goal of sex is to have kids, and obviously you're not doing that with two men, you know. And until, oh, not until, like they're not gonna change. We're not gonna change our minds on it, obviously, but until, not until, but no, you're not gonna have kids that way unless maybe Elon Musk does some weird DNA splicing or whatever.
Wouldn't put it past him, TBH.
You know he's making
But
cat girls
I
in some lab.
yeah, yeah. But I do get where you're coming from.
I'm still
I
setting up.
think you could
It'll
also
take a little more
still
time.
raise a
I'm
kid
still
in
setting up.
other
It'll take a
ways.
little more time.
Because who's like, granted, I don't know how adoption really fits in, but you know, two men can still raise a kid and start a family.
I'm
Because
still
in my
setting up.
mind, the
It'll
family,
take a
whether
little
it's
more time.
nuclear or found, family is family. And some family are just bounded
Let's do this.
by blood, others by soul, and like, in my eyes, the soul is a part of the blood.
Come on.
Because
I'll show 'em.
your vessel,
Can't
your
stop
soul,
me now.
is making that blood. So, that's just kind of how I view it. If the soul that you're having right now is bounded to your body and is producing all this stuff, then technically blood would be part of the soul. So,
Interesting, at least, our like our Catholic understanding of the soul. It's not that the soul is like the spiritual part of you. Well, the body is the body, and they're both still connected. Like you're both soul and body, but the soul is the spiritual, so that doesn't have the blood in it. The blood is still the body. But that's me being a little nitpicky.
no, that's more than fine. You're the trad cath. We're gonna bully you anyway.
Yes, I will.
But
I will get bullied, and then I bring in the Crusaders or whatnot, aka some autistic friends, and then
yeah. But I'm just I'm kind of I'm kind of a bit on the fence about that. The way that I ultimately view God is that he is a man who looks at you pure
Keep moving.
of soul.
There's a shadow.
Of course, he can judge you
shadow.
by your actions and every. Of course, he can judge you by your own personal decisions and everything. But that's kind of where I'm at, like a bit of an impasse, because I've seen people get like crosses tattooed onto their body, but I've also read too that
We
the
don't run into
body is
any
a
creeps
vessel and
here.
it shouldn't be touched, and it's like,
Is that
uh,
treasure?
technically you are violating your
Is it my
vessel by putting a
imagination, or do
tattoo
some
on it,
shadows
even
seem
if it
smaller than
is a cross, and it's just, I don't know.
a
I do
little.
want to bring up the fact that, oh, you can go ahead real
Yeah,
quick.
just a little interesting tidbit.
found
Over
the
in
stairs.
Jerusalem, they do have people that will do these very traditional tattoos where it's literally
there's
just
a
a small
treasure
cross
chest.
on the wrist. And they've been doing it for hundreds of years, I want to say.
I want to bring this up.
Oh.
I think for the most part that the conversation of God, I feel anyone can be a part of.
I'm on
I
diet right
fear
now, and I've been
not.
eating
Why
way
do I
too
keep
Fear.
on
much
saying
lately.
fear?
I need to get some
I
exercise.
feel
I feel like this is
that
the time you said that.
if God is how I think He is, which is an
A shadow.
all-loving,
What will you do?
omnipotent power who judges you by the content of your character and not all of the other stuff, I feel that's what God is. God is the God's final judgment is the content of the character. And I can easily be disproven wrong, but I just I feel if anything the character of a person trumps all. After all, there are plenty of people that are more
We got
than
ourselves a
deserving of a
shadow here.
good afterlife,
Down the stairs.
even if they aren't exactly, you know, even though they may not believe in God. There are many people who are deserving of that, and I feel that God is a very caring and a very forgiving creature, and
Good
that
day.
He is willing to accept the
Are you
flaws
accepting a
of the
request?
character, because no one is perfect after all.
Kind of pro like, a little bit of
Do you see
Catholic
anything
theology on
achievable?
here again, though, which I know in the religion episode I keep on spamming Catholicism, but anyway,
Mods, he keeps on
mods.
spamming Catholic mods. Ping him at God, strike him down.
Mods, cut off his balls. That was anyway though, but how we view like salvation and whatnot though. Like this is we have a very complex way of doing it though, where to start off, like when we talk about sins, so we talk about like two different types in Catholicism. It's mortal and venial. Mortal sins are like the bad ones that send you to to the to the hot box, literally. But with those ones, if let's say you commit, like let's say your neighbor's just really making you angry, for instance, this is a little excessive, and you go, yeah, let's go kill him, and so you knock on his door and you blast his head off with a shotgun. We would consider that a mortal sin because you know it's wrong, like Ten Commandments says thou shalt not murder, and you just turned your neighbor into pink mist. Two, after you knew it was wrong, you committed it with full will, where it's not just, someone's like torturing you, and all you have to do to stop the torture is to press this button that, blows up your neighbor. And finally, if I always forget the final bit here, so
I mean, my mother actually has the Ten Commandments on there, on our wall. Which, like, I feel like if anything, the Ten Commandments are just a pretty good way of just following stuff. I mean, after all, it's like 10 things that are extremely doable, and religious or not, everyone should just be able to follow them. Because it's basic stuff, like don't steal, don't kill someone, don't cheat on someone. Granted, there are some things that are a bit, I don't know, like the whole disrespecting parents thing is awkward because
I
there are some people who grow up in really bad homes, and
with that one, I think it
that's
kind of
just
depends though. Where as a kid you should honor your parents, but as an adult, if your parents are lording over you, like you owe them some respect though. But it's also they need to understand that you're an adult. You have your own free will. You should do what you want at that point. So even if you want to do wrong things, like at that point you should listen to your parents. But like again, there's only you should respect them. But if they're saying like, hey, do crack with me, don't do crack with them. Or if they're drunk all the time, then their judgment wouldn't always be the best. Like there's nuance to that.
or it's just, and I think this kind of leads into like my general stasis.
Here are my
Religion doesn't necessarily have one answer for the most part. Everything is very black and gray. Like everything is very
Very well.
gray. Like there are some like clear black and white things, but a lot of religion is in a weird gray area where ultimately you can believe
Welcome to the
in
Velvet
whatever you
Room.
want. As long as you're being, in my opinion, and
Are
up
you in
earlier, as
search
long
of
as
new
you're being a
power?
good person, teaching good
All the elements
values,
which
and
will
just
you choose?
thanking whatever higher power there is for whatever you have, then I think that's all you really need to be like quote religious. You don't have to do much. It's
This
three
persona
easy
is
things.
powerful.
You don't have
What do you
to
wish to inherit?
be all negative and everything. You just gotta don't worry and be happy.
Hmm. I think with my kind of final statement here on religion, though, is it's brought me a lot of, I guess, inner peace to say, where I'd say it's more given me a focus on what I want to do, as I go forward in life, where it's kind of like a focusing lens where instead of just being aimless like I was, it goes, okay, do this, honor God in your life, and kind of be that sort of Christ. I hate, I hate to kind of compare myself to that though, because obviously, if St. Paul says, imitate Christ as I imitate him, and Christ is, a full like lion like in your living room, St. Paul is, Simba from The Lion King. I'm a toddler's drawing of a lion.
Right.
Yeah, but I try to imitate him the best I can, though. Like, I have gay friends, which, in some trad cath circles, I'll be called cringe for that, but it's, I still love my friends. Like, and I still say, like, hey, like, give my perspective on it. Like, this, like, I don't think this is the right thing, but I'm not going around just saying, I'm not going Westboro Baptist Church, outright trying to like hurt someone's feelings. I say everything I can in a loving way, which part of love
Right.
is like trying to correct someone, but another part is just say it in a way to where it's not gonna just kill a friendship. No, some friendships are just still not gonna last. Anyway, like some people, it's like will take it. Mean like I'm trying to be offensive, but that friend of mine, very cool friend of mine, love her a lot. Not that kind of love, where not that, but that friendship kind of love.
Oh, 100%. And ultimately, too, you should, in my opinion, you can preach the word of God without condemning people. You can be like, hey, here's some of the stuff that he went through. And ultimately, I think this is kind of a good way of being like, anyone can really learn God.
It
There's just
appears it
certain
will
ways of
receive a
teaching
fair
it. I
amount
think
of
the
extra power.
fear-mongering way of telling gay people or telling people who are like like not exactly the normalist, because I know there are some people who are ADHD and stuff like that who are like, hey, if you're not this, you're going to hell. Like, I think there's a definite easier way of doing it, and I think going forward, if I had to really say something, it's like I feel like if religion was less feared and rather taken as a something that's it's very hard to say, something that is a pleasure to have and something that is very joyful to have, would go a long way rather than making people afraid that if they if they jerk off they're going to hell or something.
Are you
It's
finished?
just
I mean, again, from the Catholic kind of point there, where I was going to tell you not to jerk off because that's dangerous for your soul. Which there's an example of that though, but what I was trying to say earlier of the like, but also there's some secular things. So like studies where it's saying like to zoom out a bit though, you shouldn't be jerking off the porn in my opinion, just because it's not good for you. Like it makes your ding-a-ling go from, like, let's say you're with a girl, it can make you go warm, but and it's just not. It's
Oh no, when I get you.
We look.
The whole point of this is so we can get each other's, thoughts and feelings out.
yeah.
And, I feel like that's a perfect way. Some people are going to have disagreements on religion. As long as you're not actively trying to make them feel lesser, and as long as you're
Here are my requests.
being
Let's hear
relatively calm and understanding,
Of course.
both sides can be at an impasse and be okay with it. At the end of the day, I'm still going to keep on recording episodes of Bear with Us with Juggerbear,
Yes,
even
until
though I
I
don't
finally
agree.
find a way to piss him off. I kid.
The only way he's gonna piss me off is
The
if
world you live in is so
if
bright and
if on
colorful.
one of the episodes of Bear
It's
with Us
rather
he
blinding.
shows up wearing a Packers jersey or something,
Okay,
or
so
we're
I
at
can
like
wear a clan
episode.
hood, but not a Packers jersey. Okay.
Shut up. I
Hey,
mean,
I'm
they're the
just being a
same
Baltimore
attire,
Orioles
man.
fan, despite the fact I'm a diehard Yankees fan.
I thought that
Don't get in the
I
way of
thought
my
the
Orioles
Boston
narrative.
Red.
Yeah, they definitely wear
I
clan
mean,
hoods.
I thought the Boston Red Sox were those types of people.
No,
Oh
you're
right, I
right.
forgot they had Big Papa.
Yeah, they
They
like
made
Dominicans
they made
now.
Boston. Yeah, they made Boston 5% less racist because of
Mm-hmm.
that.
And not. I mean, this. Where's Rafael Devers from?
No idea.
No idea. Yeah, me too. Shoot. Fake baseball fan. I don't go on baseball reference enough.
True.
But I think
But
that.
I do think that is a good way to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, thank you, Juggerbear, for joining me with for Bear with us. We'll try to pump some of these out more soon. It's just happened that tonight we kind of just really got the ball rolling on stuff. But remember, like, comment, subscribe. If you have anything you want us to talk about, put it in the comments. I know Spencer had something for us to talk about,
But he's
but
not
I
here
forgot
because he's in
about
New
that.
Jersey, so he's going to hell.
Yeah, true. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Y'all have a good night, and remember, God is good.
if I hear
God is great.
if I hear any more
God
of those
is
hymns, we didn't even
good.
get to my like church's rant though. But the one part about I dislike about being Catholic is that all the churches you go to, it feels very. They do the Protestant songs though, and my inner, papist in me is like, no, stop this. This should have died in the '60s. Just give me my nice, beautiful, my big, beautiful organ, the biggest ever, and the
Yeah.
nice Gregorian chants though.
What about the harp?
The harp, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The guitars need to die though. But
Crazy.
yeah, but I think that's a great way to end this episode here though. So thank you all for watching this far. If you dislike it, don't forget to dislike it because it's still engagement, but you'll make me sad.
Yeah. Also, to end this off, stop producing bad Christian rock bands, Midwest. I want better Christian music. This new stuff sucks.
All right, peace out, guys.
Peace out.